Joey is leaving on a jet plane, and he simply has no idea when he will be back again, if ever. Man, I miss John Denver. Let me explain. I should have guessed it that after talking about who is leading this country, watching the sad State of the Union, and then aliens invading, of course the President of the United States would attempt to get the heck out of here. It's not like he had responsibilities here with U.S. citizens, so why not sneak out in the middle of the night, when he's mostly in a comatose state, to go to Ukraine?
1 year later, Kyiv stands, and Ukraine stands. Democracy stands. The Americans stand with you, and the world stands with you. Russia's aim was to wipe Ukraine off the map. Putin's war of conquest is failing. Remind us that freedom is priceless. It's worth fighting for as long as it takes, and that's how long we're going to be with you, Mr. President, for as long as it takes.
Cool. Our country is broken.
Our country is indeed broken. Being as such, on President's Day, the President of the United States was focused on Ukraine and doing all he can to get the appropriate money laundering, democracy, sovereignty, and territorial integrity for the Ukrainian people. Does anyone else find it wholly interesting how a man who couldn't come out of the basement because a cold might get him just travels overseas to a war zone? And then he went to Poland to give a rallying cry in defense of Ukraine. Not so much America, but he was confused either way.
Would we respond, or would we look the other way? Would we be strong, or would we be weak? All of our allies, would be united or divided?
He's tripping all over his words. And then he tripped over himself as he boarded the plane to leave Poland. This ain't his first dog-faced pony soldier show. He's done that before.
President Biden trips, not once, not twice, but 3 times as he tries to climb the stairs to Air Force One today.
Anywho, how about that as today's question? Are we headed to nuclear war? What is the over-under on that happening? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And then if you could share the video, maybe a few Americans will see it. And they will see just how orchestrated this all has become. Because coincidentally, Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky were walking together in the open air, and then the raid sirens went off. Even CNN, yes, CNN was like, yo, bro, that's fake.
I've been here for the past 5 days. I have not heard any explosions. I have not heard any air sirens until about half an hour ago, right when President Biden was in the center of Kyiv, as Clarissa was just mentioning.
And don't worry, Russia's Vladimir Putin knows it, so he's all about making the threats and just escalating the threat of nuclear war and the world coming to an end.
Они все-таки не глупые люди. Нам стратегическое поражение хотят нанести и лезут на наши ядерные объекты. В этой связи вынужден заявить сегодня о том, что Россия приостанавливает свое участие в договоре о стратегических наступательных вооружениях.
For those of you just listening and not seeing the words on the screen, Putin said Russia has suspended participation in the New START treaty, which limited the number of nuclear warheads in possession, of which the US and Russia contain about 90% of the world's nuclear warheads. So, naturally, let's focus on love letters and the love triangle that is this situation, because Joe loves himself some Ukraine and wrote them a love letter. After all, Kyiv has captured a part of his heart. Dear lover, Joe wrote, I am honored to be welcomed again in Kyiv to stand in solidarity and friendship, blurdy blur, the freedom-loving people of Ukraine. Mr. President, please accept my deepest respect for your courage and leadership, blurdy blur, Joe Biden. Will Joe write such a letter to the people of East Palestine, Ohio, or is that just too challenging for him? Because we know that even though a train derailed, sending a mushroom cloud of toxic gases into the sky and depositing materials into the water, somehow this is not important enough for federal assistance. They are on their own.
Each federal agency has its own unique role here, and we've mobilized an interagency team to get the people of Palestine, of East Palestine to be more exact, the support that they need. And look, our priority, as I said 2 days ago, is the health and safety of the community. That is indeed our top priority for the moment as we look at what they're dealing with in Ohio.
Which means the transportation secretary should be very concerned in doing all he can to remedy this, right? Because to this point, Pete Buttigieg has done nothing good in the name of his job. We should not even know the name of the transportation secretary, because that would mean he's doing his job. Instead, we have Mayor Pete.
Look, rail safety is something that has evolved a lot over the years, but there's clearly more that needs to be done because while this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases a year of a train derailing.
Yeah, just 1,000 cases per year, so back off on this one. I mean, if every one of these 1,000 train derailments looked like the one in Ohio, then no bigs, right? And the White House stands with Petey.
So does the president, is he satisfied with the government's response to this derailment? And does he have confidence and continue to have confidence?
Yes, absolutely. I can answer that very quickly and very with confidence from here that we do have absolute confidence in Mayor Pete. And I always say that, Secretary Buttigieg.
They stand with Mayor Pete. But the White House does not stand with all other Americans, like those in Ohio. With the president overseas, maybe the vice president could step in and go to Ohio, but silly me, she can't find the border yet. Which brings us to... Where in the world is Kamalama Ding Dong? Just when you thought Biden was the worst thing out there, I guess even Democrats are now agreeing that Ding Dong is officially worse than Joe. A recent column in Politico claimed that Democrats think Biden is too old for another term. But they also would rather have the would-be 82-year-old Joe than to nominate Kamala Harris. She really is just that bad.
They don't think that you're the right person to be on the ticket. Why do you think that?
I think that it is very important to focus on the needs of the American people and not political chatter out of Washington, D.C.
And you obviously ran for president in 2020. You want to be president. Do you still want to be president someday?
Joe Biden has said he intends to run for re-election as president, and I intend to run with him as vice president of the United States.
And more chitter-chatter about the 2024 election will keep coming. We now have Nikki Haley, who announced her candidacy for the Republican nomination. And she has some ideas about age and competency.
We're ready to move past the stale ideas and faded names of the past. And we are more than ready for a new generation to lead us into the future. We'll have term limits for Congress. And mandatory mental competency tests for politicians over 75 years old.
And then 2.2 seconds later, the ever-sour lemon named Donnie was a sexist like no other on CNN's Morning Dribble because he was demoted from his primetime show for being an awful human being.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that politicians aren't in their prime.
You need to qualify. Are you talking about prime for like childbearing, or are you talking about prime?
Oh, the messenger was certainly shot on that one, and rightfully so. This type of talk is standard when speaking about any Republican, especially the female variety, because Donnie works on CNN, where you get drunk and report on the love of the left. That appearance must have been a re-emergence of Drunk Donnie Lemon.
That's like, I got that bubbly. I got that bubbly. I got that bubbly. I got that. I got that. I got that bubbly. You haven't seen that?
I don't know who that is. Okay, I'm cutting you off after this one. Should I cut him off?
I don't know either, except I do know. Don't worry, though. Whoopi Goldberg was there to back up her friend, the Lemon, with her absurdity.
You're not a new generation. You're 51. What are you talking about?
Compared to DC, that's a new generation.
Well, but it's not a new generation. She may be younger than most of those people, but her rhetoric is the same. She's saying the same BS, and I love the young kid. But you know what? The only way you're going to get younger people to run, dude, is if you're out there talking to people and saying run. Don't sit here and say we need it to look like us. We know that. We know that, but we're not going to vote for people who don't have our best interests at heart. Yeah. Okay?
And also people that don't have experience.
What are you talking about, Whoopi? And you, Sunny Hostin? Because not only was Nikki Haley a member of the South Carolina House of Representatives for 3 terms and then a 2-term governor of South Carolina, she was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. As in, she has both domestic and foreign experience. And also, if we do the math, Biden is 80 years old currently. Trump's 76. If Haley is 51, then yes, she is a new generation, simply called not geriatric. Actually, Haley's a Gen Xer and Goldberg is a boomer, but details. I'm just glad Don Lemon finally agrees that Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Oprah, and Whoopi all need to shut it down.
Bye, Felicia.
But the real kicker of all this, why would Don Lemon ever be Googling when is a woman in her prime? Not only do we not know what he means by prime, but if we are talking about the birthing of children, Don is a gay man and won't be the having of the children. We had sexism and potential nuclear warfare as our past week of activities. That's always a reminder that we need to give a few Fs, mostly faith, family, and friends. For now, all my bags are packed. I'm ready to go. Until next time, stay healthy, America.